Hello, dears. This or this? I'll just be a grasshopper tonight, hey?
You want to be higher?
My favorite way to teach is through questions and answers. It's just fun. You get to ask whatever you want, and I get to answer whatever I want. And it becomes playful. And that's why I like it so much. Two of my very favorite pieces of source are going to be sourced tonight. David, Greg. Oh, and it looks like questions have arrived already. And there are more to come, perhaps? Yes?
That's source.
Source to source, eh? So how have you been?
It's amazing.
Amazing?
Yes.
I like that. That's a grand answer. Amazing. What's amazing these days?
The appreciation of being informed to know that it not will always be this way
Hey,
for me.
well said.
All the help you get and it's just really great.
Dude. It's great. It is great. And you do get a lot of help. You get as much help as you are willing to receive. That's always the case, seen and unseen. Now, as you'll remember, you may find that several people ask basically the same thing. So when you think that's happening, try to put them together so that it's one big question instead of 5 that are the same. All right, let's start.
What needs to happen before the Lake Titicaca Stargate can be awakened and activated?
Nothing. You've been practicing.
Okay, with the merging of our sun into one undivided energy, what shall we call our sun in the future?
All right, now that's a bit of a misunderstanding. It's not that the sun is one undivided energy. It has always been a singular solar focus on its own. What is happening that is different is that the energy coming through the sun as a filter, through the solar being as a filter, is no longer a dichotomy, it is a singularity. Singularity isn't the best word for that, but so there is nothing to call that except energy that is no longer 2 and now is 1, and it's coming as a single force to you. Vesta-Helios doesn't change.
What remains for the completion of sacred status?
Ascension.
Essentially ascension.
Well, that's when you know it's over. Ascension has happened.
With this solar eclipse energy, how do you see relationships changing and evolving in time?
Nice, nice. Think for a moment about the difference between fear-based relationships and love-based relationships. What do you think the differences are going to be? First, think about your own relationships. Think about the relationship you have with your own self, which is a very, very powerful and important relationship. your relationship with Source, your relationship with this world, the planet, with others as a whole. What has been changing for you? Think about it for just a moment. And then spread that into what that will look like for relationships as a whole. Any thoughts? People to add to this? Frank?
I was just going to say, a lot of relationships, there's the fear of punishment. I mean, not wanting to be wrong, not wanting to say the wrong thing, not wanting to do this. It's the fear of punishment, of consequences for not doing it right. So I think that will change relationships.
How do you think relationships would change if it was not based on, I've got to be perfect or I'm going to get in trouble? Be practical with me. What do you think that could look like?
I think relationships might take on different forms because people aren't trying to adhere to social norms so much. And so I think there will be a wide variety of different types of families and different types of, maybe more polyamory in the country, and so I think that would open up quite a bit because the fear of having to be a certain way is not as strong.
Good, Claudia.
I think people would be more honest with each other and more creative.
Good. And more creative. That's an interesting thought. Where does that come from?
I think when you're coming from fear, you squash that sometimes.
You're right. Yes.
And if you're not afraid, then you can be open to.
Very nice. Jim.
I was going to say the same thing, that there's probably going to be a lot less fear and more love, interaction.
Aye.
More desire to do it because you want to instead of because you have to.
Lovely.
I read a quote recently. It said, instead of telling somebody, I love you, say, I love me because I'm with you. It made so much sense to me.
And that should become more so. Hi, Steve.
If we move away from the fear of not being right, hopefully we'll move toward not needing to be right in the first place. That whole dichotomy of right and wrong, and I'm right, you're wrong.
Hi.
There'd be less stress and less worry, and also less defensiveness. Because if you're afraid of being wrong, that has a tendency to make a person defensive about being wrong or making a mistake and all of that. So things get relax a lot more, and things have more of a flow to them, and there's a lot less stress in the relationship.
Lovely. I think one of the things that you're going to notice is that the unseen is going to have a greater presence within your relationships. I also would agree that different types of relationships are going to become by far more common, mainly because different types of relationships have always been around and always been necessary, but now you're going to be finding that many more individuals are more open-hearted, more willing to recognize that love is what matters, that is what counts. There will absolutely be more honesty, be more less fear, all of those good things, but really, individual to individual, you are more likely to be seeing a reflection of your own self, your own thoughts, your own love that you have out in the world, because you are always drawing into your version of reality what you are and what you see. So always take a look at what you are seeing. Take a look. The evolution you are seeing is because of the evolution you are experiencing. The changes you are seeing are because of the changes you are making. So think for yourself, what do you want to see in your relationships, seen and unseen? Your relationship with Source, your relationship with those who are here to help you be your best, should become more real to you. Less talking to yourself and hoping, and more having conversations that make sense. Look at your life, because that's where you see what the world, or certainly your world, is going to be showing you.
Is it my turn? This question seeks clarification on Samuel. Is it true that guardians have had a compact with you made before they took form? Because on the Arkansas trip, you said to those present, "Your compact with me begins now." This is confusing. Could you elaborate? Thank you.
I said your compact with me begins now.
I don't remember that.
What you said was, you have completed part of your compact.
Right. However, I'm good with your compact begins with me now. Because, you know, every day is a new day, and you are constantly in the midst of establishing a new reality. And yes, I have a compact with every guardian. You are a guardian because I have a compact with you. And some of you are just remembering those compacts, and some of you have remembered them for a very long time. It's a very it's not a compact like you have in your world, where Frank the lawyer writes it up in all of this hard-to-understand language, and you sign it in your blood, and you saw there was a need. You said yes. It's not a hard compact. Until I have to hold you to it.
So there wasn't small print and you didn't have to wear your glasses?
I didn't say that.
Okay, my understanding is that the opening of the light bridge started the beginning of the Ascension process. As guardians complete the Ascension process, I'd like to better understand what will happen to the physical body. Would life insurance say we are dead, even if we are still functioning in form at a higher frequency that others can interact with?
All right, let's break that up into pieces, all right? Let's start with Ascension doesn't begin at the light bridge. However, the light bridge provides a means through which those who are functioning at much higher frequencies are able to move back and forth and move dimensionally from what you think of as this earth to what I would tell you are maybe other versions. I'm going to go with that just because that's not the main point. Ascension is a part of the spiritual evolutionary process. Ascension isn't you die and 3 days later the stone is rolled away and up you come in all your glory and sorry. Ascension is basically you are able to function at a frequency that no longer requires a physical body in order to do that. Physical form becomes a choice rather than a need to do your best. It's a process that the planet goes through, that all life force on the planet goes through, that you go through. And there are different types of ascension. The ascension that the planet will go through is not the same kind of process that you go through, although they end up essentially the same because both no longer need form. When the planet is ascended, life force changes. So it does indeed look as though the planet is still there, but its spiritual ascension is complete. When humans ascend and reach that point, which is functioning fully at 6th density and beyond, there is no need for a physical body. But as long as the planet has not finished its ascension process, there will continue to be physical bodies here. By the time your spirit reaches 8th dimensional function, your planet is no longer a part of your reality at all. So essentially, at that point, you have fully ascended and you are working toward whatever creator work you're going to have going on. Because that is what you do. You shift into creator mode. Now, where was that going in its...
So you just...
Is your physical body going to show up?
That we're, like, would life insurance say we're dead even if we are still functioning in form at a higher frequency?
Can we get our money first?
Samuel, this is whole life insurance, by the way.
Whole life. I'm pretty sure that my definition of a whole life and yours are two different things. But it's very, very possible that I'm simply not understanding that. But I will say this. There is not a point that your physical body looks dead that you could come back to it. And if you can't come back to it, you get your insurance, right? And I will remind you that you don't want to come back to it.
Be a zombie guardian.
You could be a zombie guardian. That's an interesting thought. But there is a function within your energy in which you have shifted out of your body temporarily. It doesn't look dead, though. It looks alive. It looks like, oh, you're sleeping, you're dreaming, you're out of your body. You can die and be brought back as long as you've not been gone a very long time. If you've been gone too long, your body has started its deterioration process, and again, you don't want to come back to that. That would be unfortunate. It happens, though. It does. It happens. I think more of what you're looking at here is the kind of situation in which you choose to function invisibly instead of visibly. And your function invisibly requires you to not be attached to a personality if it's going to be for any longer than approximately 12 hours, give or take, because your body cannot hold a lack of soul for that long, for much longer. So choosing to work invisibly, generally through your meditative states, particularly when you're able to lose your physical self and release the spirit you are, meditation, dreaming, sleeping, but you die, well, you're dead.
Thank you.
I have a follow-up. Can your physical body ascend to 5D along with the rest of you? Is it able to do that?
Why would you want it to? Because you don't need your body. It's a cage for the spirit you are. And the higher a frequency you work at, the less you want this personality and its limitations to be the means by which you work out. There are those already working at fourth and fifth dimensional experience, and you use your body through those dimensions. You have to be fully inserted and functioning within sixth density before you begin having that kind of choice. Seventh, definitely eighth. And beyond that, you're losing form altogether. The big thing, why would you want it? Because it's a limitation. It's a very purposeful limitation. It's a very important limitation, even though you're kicking and screaming within that limitation. But it is a limitation, one that you sometimes feel quite a bit more often than other times. The personality doesn't transcend, except through the bonded connection in memory. And as like attracts like, you have the ability to keep a personality here, which isn't a good thing.
That's you.
Do you want to toss it?
He did.
Then she has a question.
Hi, Samuel.
Hi.
What exactly were the lights at Board Camp, Crystal Mine, that the group saw in Arkansas, both Sunday night and on the follow-up Wednesday night?
All right. Somebody tell me about what was going on there, Jane.
Let's see. Well, a group of us were sitting out there and on the picnic tables, and we half the group went to the bus, and the other half were being persistent that we were going to see something. And so we looked up in the forest, and what I saw was it looked like a flame flared up about maybe 5 or 6 feet tall, maybe 8 feet wide, maybe. It flared up, and then it lasted maybe 2, 3, 4 seconds, and then went back down, and then about maybe another 5 seconds, 10 seconds, it went back up, flamed back up, and then when that flamed back up, there was a beam of light that shot out at about a 45-degree angle at the top of the tree, and then it was gone, and then we left, and then a couple evenings later, we went back.
And he's not the only one seeing this, just to let you know.
And I was on my medications. No, and then Dawn suggested we go up. This was about 10:30 at night, and so there was Dawn, Dan, and the owner. We went up in the forest. It was dark, and we were up there and looking around. Nothing was going on. We were just talking. And then I caught out of the corner of my eye something over in the forest, and it was, I don't know, maybe 2 feet wide, and it was glowing. And it glowed for maybe 5 seconds or so.
Ground level?
Yeah, ground level. And it, how did you know?
Ooh.
Yeah, but then that lasted maybe 5 or 10 seconds. We were walking towards it, and then it went disappeared.
What do you think it was?
Well, you had kind of prepared us a little bit for it, we talked a little bit after, that the orbs in the night, I was part of the group that saw some orbs through the trees, that those were like drones, that those working with repatterning, working with the energy, is working through drones because they don't need to be here to do that. And so that's one of the explanations that you shared with us then. If I understood correctly, though, this site is a very, very important place where energy is repatterning it for the planet. And I'm not sure the implications of that and what all that means and what its connections are with other parts of the planet, but that's what I know based on what you've explained.
What do you think it was?
I don't know. It was unexplainable.
It was unexplained phenomena.
Well, I think it correlates to, I think it's not in this dimension, but or not in this density anyway. But a corollary in this dimension would be when energy is excited and then drops to a lower state, it releases electromagnetic radiation.
Yes.
So that's what I think it is.
I'm going a lot with you there. It is a result. It is a result. It is a reaction. Children make volcanoes and they put... That's it. Ask the science teacher. Yes. And it foams and bubbles and toothpaste in the ground. It just... It was funny when I thought it. The picture was a very foamy mouth. It was. All right. That particular area is, as Mary Claire said, a very, very important area. There is a lot of natural energy in that area. For instance, you have a river running underneath it. You have a very large crystalline deposit. It's very active insofar as the energy right in that point is. But this point is being used outside of this dimensional structure. It is being used as a means of directing specific focus into repatterning through the crystalline matrix upon the planet. That repatterning is spreading out and having an effect upon all of the life force being touched by that repatterned crystal. I want you to think putting a drop of ink into a bowl of water. It splashes into it, you have a very dark burst of color that slowly works its way out to the edges of the bowl itself. That is what is going on between Arkansas and Brazil for the northern and the southern hemispheres. The full amount of that repatterning energy is focused, not exactly on that spot, but in that specific area. Now, when you went there, you had interesting things happen to you, those of you who were there, because the phenomena you were seeing was because you were shifting and becoming capable of seeing it. Not everybody there, even in the same group in which multiple people saw the same thing, not everybody there saw it because not everybody there was capable of that shift. Now, certain parts of it, the orbs are a reaction. The light looking like great beams, again, reaction. The light on the ground looking like a bubbling force of light, not. That's a crystal thing. You have crystals you can rub together?
No, I don't do that.
And they light up?
Orville showed us.
Yeah.
Did he?
He did.
And Orville is the
Yes.
person who...
The owner of the land.
That's a very old name, isn't it? Orville. Sounds like it should be a little town. This is Orville. If you were, I'm going to say a loose state, and by that I mean capable of shifting in and out as I was teaching you to do in Arkansas. If you were in that very loose state and you were at David and Greg's home with your crystal backyard, you would see some of that same kind of low to the ground dome of light. Have you seen that since you've been back? Have you looked for it?
No. I don't see a dome of light. I just see kind of like the energy real close to it, a little bit.
Like this.
I'll look for it.
Well, I'm saying that's a dome of
Yeah.
light. If you had gone out without that intent, I want to see this, and you'd been by yourself, you probably wouldn't have had the same experience. But you were pulling together a group of individuals who were wanting and capable of seeing beyond this stuff. And it simply opened you up to it. Now, I consider crystal and light energy to also be elemental energy that I put into that box, except it's a dome. I don't know what to add to that. It's a reaction to repatterning. You are in the process of repatterning. So you draw what you are to it. You see because you are in that shift yourself.
Our world has experienced two major energy shifts, the opening of the light bridge at the eclipse and the opening of the twin stargates. I'd like to better understand how this affects the work that Guardians in Form are currently doing, and how have our responsibilities changed to facilitate the successful completion of the plan beyond the general to guide and guard life force, and what additional help support from the unseen is now available?
Whoa! It's a multitude of questions that all are pretty involved. Can you sum it up?
Let's see.
Explain the universe and give 2 examples.
Great.
Well, I would go with the question, what additional help support from the unseen is now available?
Well, the first thing that I want to remind you is that you've actually had more than 2 major, but those are absolutely earth-shaking. You are having energy transmissions affecting your planet and all life force on it fairly often over the last few years, and it's going to continue through this year and beyond. You are in a time of great, great change. Change that does not affect a guardian's work. What does affect a guardian's work is how much of your human self you choose to use instead of your spirit self. The more you allow the spirit you are to function, then the less embroiled you are in the challenges living on earth in form provide. However, the more you function in spirit, the more you experience that which does not require form in order to be seen, in order to be merged with, in order to be used. Say that more simply. The higher a frequency you work at, the more you are able to work with high-frequency beings, seen and unseen. What does it require then? Functioning in spirit rather than form. This is temporary. This is not all that is, and not even that necessary once you're functioning more in spirit than in form. Why is form a great thing? A really good thing? Why would a high-frequency being actually choose to take on form? Why in the world would you do that?
Well, with the intention of why we're here and who we're here to serve, we won't frighten the natives, for one thing. And we're more able to function with the realities that everyone here functions with, go through the challenges, grow beyond what we need to do, and be able to be a way shower that's recognizable, non-threatening, and moves and evolves what form can be in this environment and beyond it.
In order to be that example, to show that it can be done. Good.
Because form is an amazing experience.
It is.
There's maximum diversity. There is unlimited potential for creativity. And it's worth the effort because of that.
It feels and it smells. And it smells. It thinks. It is amazing. And both of those are the essential package. You don't want to scare off the natives. You want to experience life in a way that you cannot otherwise. Treasure that form you are living in. Treasure what it offers you, but never forget it is not you. It's the glass that holds the spirit you are. You are here for two purposes. To learn what the Ascension process is about in the world of form. But as I've said before, you're kind of doing it like a high school graduate who is visiting kindergarten for a day. You know what's happening. You can see it. Some forget. Some get lost. Some do not awaken. They fall into the sensuality of form. That happens. But you're also here to guide and guard that very process, to be that example, to show that way. And in that first reason to be here, your job is to live love, to show what a function of Source is in this world. But in that second aspect, you have many different ways in which you specifically live that love. Many directions in which you guide and guard. Many means by which you choose to be the guardian that you are here to be. And by that I mean some of you well, I'm about to do a travel analogy, and I'm trying to avoid it. Some of you choose a very quick road. Some of you choose a very slow road. Some of you choose a road that involves other people. Some of you choose a road that involves the mineral kingdom. Some of you choose a road that involves dogs. You have many roads. Some of you will never reach your full potential. Some of you reached it early on, and these massive energy flows are helping you stretch past what you could have ever imagined. Some of you are here to teach. Some of you are here to heal. Some of you are warrior spirits in which the guard part of guide and guard is very much what you are about. You have different paths that take you on that road of living love, on that road of making a difference here while you are here. The only thing you can do wrong is serve yourself instead of others. And when you're serving yourself, you've lost your purpose. And the way that you know you're serving yourself is because you're not happy. Kaboom.
How did Source ever come into being?
there really is an answer to that question. The first thing that you need to remember is that source is a label. And that it's all about creative potential. And that the source that you think of as the creator of this universe, or the source that you think of as that source field of information from which this universe is created. Source is simply a label. Everything that you think is a label. Everything that you think is a limited version of what it is. Everything. There is no beginning. There is no end of source as long as there are beings that can inhabit the idea, the group conscious idea of creation. That's the answer. It's very involved. I think as you play with that over a few days, you're going to find that that's had more than it looked like. The key I want you to remember is as long as there are those who can think it, it is. Did he take all the questions?
Source 1, Source 2 needs a question.
You have some.
How has the density change affected the animal and plant kingdoms?
Many are leaving, and many are beginning to show up. You're going to be hearing more about hybridization. Will you say that word for me?
Hybridization.
Hybridization as species that have not come together in the past begin coming together. You are going to be hearing about new finds, a whole new kind of plant has been found, a whole new type of past and present and future have been found. And I mean that. Your timelines have shifted, so you're going to be finding that what you thought about history was different. What you thought the penguins did, or whatever, is different. Everything in your world is shifting. And as I said in the very beginning, as you relate, you do see. I know it is. It's just one of those awful things to hear when what you want is let it all be magic, or let it all be science, or yes. And what it is instead is a very natural process that you won't notice unless you are actively looking for it. So be actively looking for it. massive change. Plants, animals, humans, even minerals. More to be found, more to be lost, more coming together.
You mentioned that some stargates need to be closed. Does the group need to be on site, or can that be done remotely?
I don't know yet.
Do those who are third density have access to full knowledge once they have transitioned? And is their access to knowledge any different than that of someone at fifth or sixth density?
Oh, there is a massive difference in the kind of knowledge that one can have. Does somebody at third density have access to all knowledge? That's no different than somebody at fourth density or fifth density. If you leave here, you have access to all knowledge that relates to the frequency that you are capable of functioning at. That's not saying that it's less. It's saying that it's different. The way that you would explain complex algorithms to a fourth grader is going to be different than the way you explain it to a college graduate, maybe. The college graduate majoring in complex algorithms would say, boy, you left out a lot. But it was everything the child could relate to. What your frequency relates with is how you will translate all that you receive. And the higher a frequency you work at, then the more color, if you will, that information becomes.
How will the generation you mentioned that are between 10 and 25 years old change and transform our world? Or change and transform, I think they mean our world.
Coming in awake is very different than coming in needing to awaken. Coming in awake means already open-hearted and open-minded. Now, quick little talk with guardian energy. When you started waking up to there is more, I'm not really human. Did everybody just embrace that and tell you, great, glad to hear you finally know? You probably learned pretty quickly what not to say, when, and where. Maybe they thought you were crazy or just brushed you off in a condescending way. If you have a child that is awakened, who has parents who really work to shut that down, that child will have a harder go of it than if the parents were fully open to more. And that's not going to change. What makes a difference, however, is that there will be more of them in smaller areas who are talking about the same kinds of things. The more a love-based society becomes normal, then the more accepting. Well, back to that first question, the more relationships change and allow a different way of thinking and a different way of being. Some of you have children or even grandchildren who have been born in this time period. They need you. They need you. They need someone in their life who is willing to unconditionally love them. Because unconditional love is always home. Last one.
What has resulted from the work we did in Arkansas?
I've not seen a whole lot of difference that you might note in your world in the small amount of time you have been back from Arkansas, what, a week or so? What I see is very much a change within those who were there. Massive, massive change. You're happier, more loose, energized, not you're not stopping you. And when things come up in the road, as we discussed, you're just moving through. Not with, oh, one more thing, but with a real change in your heart. And you haul a lot of power around with you. And many of you have kept a lot of the ritual warriors with you. It's a very lovely thing I'm seeing within those who were there. You changed people at the hotels and at the baths and around the area you were. And many of you are very aware of those changes. Continue with that. Consciously, purposefully. Don't leave that place in your heart. Anchor it. Go back and be that loose again. I don't want Stuart to have a stroke back there. Sometime back he was going. A little hard on the streaming there, hey? Good, let's do another one then. He said fine.
We've kind of covered these. This is very general, even though you've kind of covered it. When the going gets tough, what's the best way to keep moving forward?
Answer to that question. When the going gets tough, what's the best way to keep moving forward? Stephen?
Remember that you've done it before.
Good.
And bring that back.
Remember that you've done it before. Look at your past successes. Look at what is familiar in that same. Bring it back. Remind yourself, I've done this. I can do it again. Jim?
Having gratitude.
Yes, yes. Gratitude has such an effect on you. When you're able to be grateful for even what seems to be the worst of situations, when you are able to express gratitude because you can see beyond the surface, you shift your reality. It is a point of torsion change. Gratitude, yes, absolutely. Susie?
Ask for help.
Nice, good, simple.
Seen and unseen.
Yes. Jeanine?
By being in the moment, not being stuck in the past or out in the future.
Right. That now, this moment. Fear is about the past. Stay out of it. Fear is about the future. Stay out of it. Right now. Moment by moment. Stuart, did you have your hand up?
It's been said.
Ah. Kathy?
I was going to say ask for help, but also reach out to and form a community.
Yes, yes. Surround yourself with positive, love-based, like-minded. If you can't get love-based, go for like-minded individuals. And make use of that focus. The more you do as a being of love in this world, the more of this world opens up to you. Travel the world with the idea that you are source, making everything happen at the moment. And when you're faced with something destructive, difficult, ask yourself, why did I create this? Let me think. How am I supposed to benefit from this? And let your sort of self answer to that question. I'm not going to get Buddhist on you and tell you that life is all about suffering. Life is all about learning to love, and the suffering comes from those places where you reject that. So accept, be, live that love. It's really all there is. And everything you need opens in front of you. And you are then capable of seeing what has opened. Because that's always the trick, right? All these doors are there, but I can't see any of them. It's the easiest thing to say, the hardest thing to live. Love. It's all that matters. This world is protected because it is that place with the love experiment going on. Ascension through love, through the one. That's it. One love, the only law. Live that. All right, done. Poke me, Martin, with a fork.
Well done, dude.
Thank you very much.
You had an answer for everything.
Which is kind of unusual, isn't it? I should have worked on that a little more. You are such good source.
Right back at you.
Well, thank you. And right back at you. Happy trails. Breathe it in, breathe it out. It's all there is.